Hey guys, what's up everyone? This is Prison Mike here with another new video. Today we're going to be talking about the single most important aspect of the game that everyone needs to be very efficient with mastering, with upgrading the officers. They will give you the most bang for your buck, so to speak. You really want to make sure that you're optimizing them for your best chances to really crush your enemies and have armies that really are just able to crush anyone else and to improve your stats. They also have some other unique abilities to help upgrade your city level, research speed, recruiting, all kinds of different things. There's a lot that goes into them. It can be kind of confusing. I made plenty of mistakes early on, so I'll be able to give you guys good advice about what to do, what not to do, who to focus on. So without further ado, let's get into the officers. I'm going to go over the basic stuff here in this first video to really make sure everyone's on the same page. The beginners know how to start this off right. People that have been doing this for a while will realize if they've been doing things incorrectly and can hopefully make some changes then to really improve their overall skills and if these officers the best they possibly can be. So the command center here is really where everything is going to happen for the officers. So the far right there, you can see you can actually recruit officers. There's on the right the elite recruit, and then on the left there's these normal recruit. You can get these little recruitments, and if you look up at the upper right corner here, there's actually the drop rate. So you could click on that and you can see here the recruitment rate for these when you're trying to get the different officers. There's green officers, as we'll see, blue and purple. Purple is really the only ones that matter and what you want to focus on throughout the game. As far as unlocking them here, it's the easiest way. You can also buy them, or so here, let me show you. You can recruit here, you can go out, you can buy here. So under these specials is the best place. Every day of the week, Monday through Sunday, there'll be specific officer fragments that are available to purchase. Today, you can see I actually already bought the first, so I always basically buy the first two officer level packs. So I bought the first two here. It's the Simon, Alexandria. This one here, bought the first two, and then I didn't need her, so I bought Simon's also. So you can see that's another way to get these fragments, which we'll talk about what they actually do here to level up your actual officer stars, and then here are the actual XP points that are needed to go from that level 1 to 55 as I showed you. Alright, so recruiting officers. You can actually see here it even says purple officer within 10 times. So that means if I hit this here, recruit 10 times all at once, I got Simon, or excuse me, I got Kingsley here. There's 8 pieces. And then you can see all the other things I received here, which is another individual piece for F. Medicini. There's some skill pieces, some other blue officers. You can hit recruit again, see what you get. It's more fragments. One more time again. Kingsley again. Unfortunately, it's probably the worst officer to get, but whatever. That's why they drop a lot of them. So, and then these skill books, which I'll talk about too, are really important here, along with all these other fragments that we'll go over. You can also go over here, recruit the classic or the non-elite recruits, and you can see what types of things you can get there, which more or less green, blue fragment officer pieces, and then sometimes you'll get other skill pieces, recruit things for resources. Pretty uncommon that you'll get many of the purple shards, many of the purple fragments, but that's to be expected. So this is one way you can get those pieces, those fragments to start up your officers, as we'll go through. I just wanted to show you this here, other than actually buying them outright. So there's also, you can see the officers here. There's a couple different types. There's the directors, you can see the strategy officers, drill masters, and then the most important are the warfare officers. And so you can see this here, but honestly, the best way to go about getting a good review and overview is to just go to the appoint. And this is where you can see all the stuff that really matters here. You can see your total officer power up at the top based on the officers who are assigned, and then you can see your 4 classes here again: the directors, the strategy officers, drill masters, and then your warfare officers and who you have appointed to these individual tasks. So the level, you can see level 1 here, and if you click this little plus, you can see all the XP points I have to apply to the individual officer to level them up. the officers that are level 1 or lower levels are going to be of lower importance, and that's why I have not bothered, versus someone like Taki here, who I actually have max, so 1 through 55. I can't raise this any further. So with that, you'll actually notice as well that there's these 4 skills that each officer will have and is unique to the officer. So the top skill for any officer here is a breakthrough skill that will not be unlocked until you have gotten past 5 stars. So you've got enough fragments past the 5 stars, and then you have to have 58 additional fragments to unlock the breakthrough skills. And then after you unlock it, it gets level 1, and then each time you want to upgrade it, you can see that it requires additional fragments. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 20 for the initial one, and then it goes up from there. So yeah, 20 from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3 it's 22, and it keeps going up and up and up, and gets more and more expensive to level up those breakthrough skills. The other thing that you can do with the stars after level 5 is go up to level 6, and so you can see here, if I click, there's additional otherworldly stats that are the 6-star attributes you can get for each individual officer. The main officers where that comes up and is really important, as I will go through in more detail in a separate video very specific to the warfare officers because they're the most important, is going to be here. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of different stuff that goes into this with these S's and the levels, and it gets a little bit confusing. But before we dive too deep into that, I want to go over the actual skills that everyone will be able to access pretty quickly in the game. So here, this advanced research, for instance, that is a skill that's already assigned to that individual officer. I can't change that, and that's the way it is for all the officers. Their first skill, same with advanced gathering here, open fire, all these top skills, for every officer, that top skill below the breakthrough is assigned, and it's predetermined. You can't change that. However, the next 3 skills here for the officers are going to be skills that you will unlock and assign to an officer. The way you'll do that, so I don't think I have any available. So you get these skill chests from different activities, competitions. You can, of course, buy them. So I'm just going to hit all of them and unlock them. So I'll just get all these different ones here. And then let's see if I have some that I can fuse. So you go over to the left and you get this officer skills, and then you can actually see the skills. And if you look at, there's actually director, strategy, warfare. But wait, I thought there were 4 different character types. So briefly, the drill master characters do not have any skills that you are able to unlock and activate. All of their skills, this open fire is specific to Simon, then the intense medical training, each of the drill master will have that as their second skill. They're all, again, going to have that, and you can level it up. But then each of the each of the drill masters will have a set skill below that, 2 skills below that, excuse me, that are already pre-selected. And so you can see mid-range killer, long-range killer here. I'll go over in another video actually to the drill masters and include them with the warfare officers, because those are really the most important ones for fighting, and kind of go over each of these individual skills that you can upgrade. But just so you can see, these ones are already preset, predetermined. You're not going to do anything with these other than level them up if you want to. But going back here, so officer skills, fuse skills. So you have enough of the pieces, which is 10, to fuse the skills. So I'm just going to do not remind me again, fuse. Okay, now I have this fuse, blah, blah, blah. You can just fuse a bunch of these. I can see here my skills that I already have, and you can manage them, you can upgrade them, you can see who they're already assigned to here. I don't really do it in this tab. I don't like the way it looks. I don't pretty much only just actually fuse the skills together. And then because I don't need any more skills, I've actually already, for a while now, had all the skills that I want for each of the officers. So you can actually break down the extra So breakdown, and you can see it actually gives you officer skill books, which are really important for leveling up the skills. So each of those skills that I showed you for each officer can be leveled up from level 1 to level 20. So officers themselves can level up from 1 to 55. Each of these individual skills that we're looking at here can be leveled up from 1 to 20, and that'll increase their percentage. When you level an officer up from level 1 to level 2, for instance, it'll actually increase all of those skills. So I'm gonna continue. I'm just gonna get 2 skill books there. If you look, I already have all the skills I want for the officers that I use. But if, for instance, let's just say go over here. Like I don't have any skills here. I actually don't even have them unlocked because it's not 2 stars or whatever. I haven't used them or unlocked them because it's pointless for these officers. But so you can see here, I could, because I have these 2 skills, I could learn either of those, and then that would be added. That's what happened for like load, that's what happened for gathering minerals, that's what happened for mineral expert here. I unlocked those skills and then I assigned them to these officers. I haven't leveled them up because they're not really useful and they're not something you should prioritize with the limited amount of skill book experience that you'll have. That's much better used on other attributes that I will go over in more detail. But just as an example, you can see here, we go down, for instance, here, you can see all of my warfare officers, because I'm a long range build, are going to have these same 3 skills that I unlocked and added, and that's the long range expert, the long range attack, and the melee HP. So that's these skills here, which then I can also upgrade with those skills books from 1 through 20. If I were to upgrade the officer level, you can actually see here, I'll show you, I'm not gonna do it right now because it's probably not the most efficient, but you can see the percentages in green that it upgrades each of these 4 skills. So when you upgrade, as I was mentioning, from level 1 to 2 and up to 55, all 4 of these skills will get a slight increase in the benefits that they offer. Alternatively, you can click on an individual skill, use these skill books, and upgrade, and you can see this individual skill will go up a level from 13 to 14 all the way up to 20, and that will also give it a % increase in the performance of that individual skill. So those are the initial 2 ways everyone will be able to upgrade things: unlocking skills, assigning those skills to the officers, leveling them up, and then also leveling the officer up with experience points as well to increasingly higher levels. The reason that I haven't really bothered with the directors is because they don't offer any real skill benefits for fighting in and of itself. They offer things like resources and gathering speeds, things that can help you overall build your strength of your city and army, but they don't directly contribute, and I just would not recommend focusing on them really at all, or wasting experience and other limited resources on them. That being said, I have some here that you can see. Generally, people are going to need minerals. That's the hardest thing for people to get to level up until you reach level 30 and higher, where you're really dealing with uranium as the only limiting factor. So there also, you can get farms and do a lot of other things to get resources. So I really would not worry about this too much. Load just lets you take more resources when you attack people if you win, and the amount you can plunder. So that's not terribly, it's useful. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is anytime that you're doing specific activities, certain officers need to be assigned to get the benefit. What that means, for instance, if you are still in a stage where you are researching different attributes and things at the research facility, I'm not, so I can't show you that anymore, but if you were, what you need to do is you need to make sure the 2 officers that are going to help with research speed are assigned, which should be this guy here. So you can see his research speed. You can click here on the side and you can see, okay, technology research, 43.3% increase in the speed of that when these officers are actually assigned. So let me show you for a different skill here then too. So let's say, I want to show you, I am not going to be able to get up to level 37 for quite some time because of uranium, but if I hit upgrade here, you can see how long it takes. 21 days. I can't actually upgrade it because I don't have enough uranium, and I also haven't unlocked all of the many other buildings that I also need uranium for. But just remember, 21 days. Pretty long time there. All right, so before I would upgrade a building, I want to assign the officers that are going to actually speed that process up. just so you can see what it looks like, because again, I can't even do it for research because I don't have any available. So there are 2 officers for research speed, then these 2 officers for construction speed. So now when I look there, you can see it's just building speed, basically 30% increase. There's nothing with research anymore. So now a 30% increase, roughly a third faster upgrade, down to 17 days, 21 hours. So still going to take some time, but you get the point. So once I was going to upgrade this building, I would assign them, click upgrade, and then that speed's good. It will stay that way even if I change the officers. Then I can change back to the officers I always use, which are these 2, because of their breakthrough skills, which we'll go over in a moment. But does that hopefully make sense to everybody? You can see you want specific officers. Even sometimes there's a blue officer combination that can be useful for certain things early on, especially with construction and research, for instance. So another important one would be the recruitment time. So that comes down here to these 2 officers. So you can see here for the strategy officers, I now have these 2 assigned that I only assign for this, and they give me a 46% increase in my recruitment speed, which is pretty considerable actually. The way you should train your officers is you want to make sure that the building recruitment times are the same for all of your recruitment times, including your upgrade time here for the troops you're upgrading, and have it finish once a day at the same time. I didn't max the amount of time by filling all the troops all the way, because you want to make sure that you're getting all the important daily updates, upgrades done to max this out, to get things like the fragments for getting more of these elite recruitments and stuff like that. And so once a day, you want to be able to have all of these troop recruitments done here, for instance. And so instead of having a bunch of times a day that you have to try to get online to check in on your troops and stuff like that, which is just going to be a huge pain in the butt, and you're going to have a lot of downtime that you're not training, just set the same rough time. You can see 22 hours, 40 minutes, 22 hours, 36 minutes, 22 hours, 41 minutes. They're all within about 5 minutes of each other, just because of the times that are available for certain units. You can't make them exact. So I've assigned those 2 officers. I go over here, I click the same rough time once every 24 hours that everything will get done, and then I can switch off these officers again. So that's really important, because that's about a 50% increase in the speed of troop training, meaning that you'll train about 50% more troops overall in the course of the time that you're training them. And back to this, these are kind of my main base troops here. So anyway, you can see that each of the individual officers has some unique skills. Some of them are meant for the recruitment, some of them are meant for research, some are meant for construction. The other thing that I briefly touched upon, but that it's important to go over in more detail, is going to be these stars here you can see. So if I hit the little arrow going up, you can see that I have the ability to go through and unlock 6-star abilities, or I can go and unlock breakthrough skills. As I already mentioned, once you get all these fragments to star up to level 5, the next step would be to decide if you're going to unlock breakthrough skills, or if you're going to start getting the 6-star attributes. And those 6-star attributes will be a whole host of different things that will be available in different colors. So there's going to be the blue, purple, and orange for these as well. And you can see that here, and each individual officer will have a whole set of them. When we go over the individual officers in more detail for each video, I'll break down the strategies on what I think is probably the best, and I will have a video highlighting particularly the drill masters and the warfare officers. For the officers that don't really involve a lot of the fighting in particular, like the directors, the only thing you really need to do is get to 5 stars and then start maxing out your breakthrough skills, because the breakthrough skills are the ones for these 2 officers that actually contribute to the fighting. So if you're ever wondering what it looks like, you can click and you can actually see what happens in the fight, where they drop those the little bombs right there you just saw, which do a pretty decent amount of damage, and they have a 35% chance of causing the enemies then to misfire for 2 seconds. And then the other you can see here there's a 31% chance of launching a power strike dealing 1.5 times damage, which again, that's not attack, that's damage. It's a considerable amount more damage, and that's really important. So as you get to 5 stars, you've leveled up here, and then you can go to the breakthrough skills and you can unlock it here and keep leveling it up. The first one again costs 58 more shards, so it's pretty expensive. And then as you go through and unlock it, going from level 1 to 2 is 20, and then I have this one low, so you can see 2 to 3, 22, and it costs about 2 shards to go up, 2 increased shards to go up each level, all the way up to, for the breakthrough skills, they max out at level 18. So you can see, because they don't have any important 6-star skills, I just put all the extra shards I had into the breakthrough skills and have that at 18, have this one at 18, and then another officer that I'll talk about too is Brave Star, and I have him at 18 as well, because those officers in particular have really, really good breakthrough skills relative to their 6-star skills, which would add other attributes that are not as useful. So that's why I've done it the way I have. There's really not a lot of other stuff to note for at least the how to manage these directors here. They're just, again, for resources, I would not waste any other time, resources, leveling them up or leveling up their individual skills, only the breakthrough skills. And then you can assign whatever you want for these individual 3 skills here, where I have the low, the mineral expert, and the mineral gathering, which just increases your output and your gathering of minerals. You can do whatever you want for that, but most people probably need minerals, and they've done it something similar to that. The other officer just to mention in this group is the other Medicini. He does have a pretty good breakthrough skill too, but I haven't maxed it. It's not actually that easy to get his fragments. You can't buy them, or would I actually bother to buy them anyways? But he gives a really big damage reduction when you're defending. I rarely defend anyway, so it's not super applicable, I wouldn't say. But once I eventually, just for playing the game, am able to max out his breakthrough skill at 18, I'll probably do some testing to see what kind of damage reduction he can give when I'm attacked, instead of maybe having one of these other 2 officers, probably maybe not having the other Medicini assigned, and just having the adjustment for when you're particularly defending because of that big damage reduction buff. But I haven't tested it yet. Hard to say. I think most people pretty much always are more in attack mode, and they're going to use these 2 officers with the upgraded breakthrough skill as much as possible for them. The other officers in this video that I'll just touch upon because I think it's important are the strategy officers that you want to use. I already showed you the ones that here and here that matter for recruiting. The other thing that's important is, so Saki here has a good breakthrough skill that works in cross-nation events to help with all the attack, HP, and defense of your troops. And then the other one, Morgan, is a really good one to have because of the advanced command ability, which will help you to get a better army fleet size. And that's the same with Saki, except her ability is better in cross-nation events and gives a bigger advantage in that. And that's really honestly the only events that matter are going to be, as the game progresses, the cross-nation events. So you really want to focus on the attributes and things that are for that more than anything else. And so that's why for Saki, I do have her as the only one so far at level 55 here. And all these other skills, I have the first aid, medicine, fleet speed, and then the automatic is this war mobilization attack or skill here, which gives a really big bonus in cross-nation events to the number of troops you can have. You get more troops in any battle, but an extra large bonus is added in cross-nation events. These are the other skills I would recommend for her. You can unlock and include other skills instead if you want to. Fleet speed, as you can see, makes your troops go faster in a battle, and it is shocking the amount of wasted gold I use to have speed ups for fights. We just finished our first Chaos Land, and I used so much gold to speed attacks on people. It was, as it always is, just alarming. So the faster your army, the better. I wouldn't spend a lot of extra skill books on it over other skills that you can upgrade, but it's worth at least investing a little bit because it's so cheap early on for the first several levels. Usually I go somewhere between 5 and like 7 or 8 on a lot of these skills that are okay but not super important to prioritize. The first aid skill is probably one of the most important skills to keep your army intact, and what I mean by that is, so there's max wounded, which is going to allow you to have a larger amount of troops that get wounded before they start dying permanently. And you can see that amount when you look at your officer. Where do I need to look here? So you can see the boost. Wrong one. Bear with me 1 second here. Your treatment room will add. Here, you have 30,000 from your biochemical hospital. That's on top of the amount you actually have. Should be down here, in the total amount of max wounded. So I have 184,000 base plus 250,000 plus the 30,000 from the biochemical hospital. The way that you can upgrade that, just since we're talking about it, each of the drill masters' second skill down is this intensive medical training, and each time you level that up, it increases the amount of wounded that your hospital can take. So if somebody attacks you and they kill, let's say your hospital capacity is 500,000, if they kill 550,000 of your troops, 50,000 will be lost permanently, like you were the attacker. For instance, when you attack, you lose troops permanently in certain battles. So that's one aspect of it. The other is this first aid that I had started talking about, and that's probably the most important of these, in that it actually allows you to have a better wounded ratio, which just means that the number of troops that die and are not wounded when you're attacking is actually going to increase. So you can see about 16% here. And then if I look at Brave Star, who I briefly showed you guys earlier, his first aid here gives another about 11.5%, but then I maxed out his breakthrough skill at the 24.5%. So when he's assigned, he adds about another 25% to that. Where that matters, let me just show you really quickly a battle report from hopefully a battle. Let's see if I can even find one. These are random, just attack somebody. So you can see on my side over here, I just attacked some poor soul to kill their troops and get some equipment for building my zombies. But you can see down here it says I lost 302 troops and there's wounded 237 troops. And then if you look in the green down below that, you'll see that the biochemical hospital wounded is 30, and then the post-war rescue in effect for the survivors is 65. So what that actually means is that if you were to take that's not 95 total troops. So if you take that, you subtract it from the 302 troops, and you add it to the 237 troops. And so I'm not going to do the math here, but I've done the math multiple times before just to see where I'm at. I'm at about 67% recovery, which means that about 67% of my total troops that would be otherwise lost are actually returned as these wounded units instead of lost units. So I only lose about a third of the troops that I actually send to fight. That's really important in the battles that are in your own nation, or in the events that you actually have troop losses. So we just finished a frenzy, as you can see, because I'm Frenzy Master. We have another Void coming up here in a couple days that'll start. And for instance, Void, which I'll talk about in a separate video, has actual permanent troop losses in that kill event. So those troops that die don't come back. You can't get them back after the event. There is some additional hospitals you can pay, and it's kind of a rip-off. But anyways, this is really useful, this Brave Star skill, for trying to prevent catastrophic or significant losses when you're attacking people, which I tend to do a lot of. We were also in the Civil War in my nation for a while, so that became extra handy when I was annihilating poor enemy souls and trying to minimize my losses so I could still be extra competitive in all the other actual events of the game outside of just the silly Civil War. So the way you'll do this for the strategy officers is anytime you're going to attack, you need to have Saki assigned. She never is unassigned. You need to have Morgan assigned. You will then send the army attack at an enemy, and then once your army attacks, you will switch these officers so that you have Brave Star active instead of Morgan. And as long as you do that during the battle and before the battle ends, you will have Brave Star's effect in effect, and then you will not lose those additional troops you otherwise lose. So you have to have Morgan assigned first when you're actually sending the fleet, because then you get the larger fleet size, that benefit that he actually offers. But after that, and once the battle starts, at any point during the battle, you just need to do it before the battle ends. You want to quick swap him for Brave Star, and that way you will get his considerable extra benefit to the wounded ratio. And then you can see here, I also have this raid for him and medicine, which is the healing speed. So that's helpful a little bit for just how fast. Healing speed is related to when you actually have to heal troops, how long it takes, and it is shocking how much time. If you have pretty catastrophic losses in a fight, it can take many like days, weeks even, to heal some of those troops up. And so to save on the actual speed ups you need and stuff like that, it's not bad to have that healing speed assigned to one of your characters as well to help with that. So I think that's kind of the gist of it. I'm going to go over in way more detail in the next video all the very specific particulars and details that you really need to know for the going from 5 stars to 6 stars and breakthrough skills, and which ones to activate and focus on in another video. But I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope it made sense and was useful. Enjoy, guys.